This morning I came out to do a little video, and there's some deer out and about over there. They tend to come out. I don't know if you can really see it there. Some deer there. They tend to come out of the woods over here. And of course my dogs like to bark at them to scare them away. It's pretty early. It's not that early. It's probably 7:30 in the morning. I added a new little fig. It's insane. I probably shouldn't even have tried this one. I've got it close to put it up under my deck if I have to, up under the porch there. But it's a black Madeira. I got a really good deal on it, and I figured I'll give it a try. It could turn out to be just a big headache, with all the splitting that I've heard. But I have 10 figs planted here in the backyard, and so I just planted a row down. This is actually a Feijoa pineapple guava, but then I've got a BNR, Gris de Saint Jean, Campaneri, and Pasquale going down the fence line. And so I've had people ask me how far apart I tend to plant my figs, because I've got a little orchard over on the side of the house. I don't have a lot of room, but yet there's a lot of varieties of figs that I want, right? So it's really, I think the spacing issue subject is very subjective. I mean, it depends on what you want. If you've got a little neighborhood, orchard going, and you want to have a few trees, I mean, feel free to get them in a little bit closer. I mean, heck, you look at some of these videos like is it the Fig Boss? Like, that dude's got figs in some cases planted 2 and 3 feet apart from each other. So I mean, it could be done. It's not optimal. I think a lot of people know that figs, in order to avoid getting disease and stuff like that, they like to have a lot of airflow going through the plant, right? So you don't really want to pack them in so tightly that they don't really get a lot of good airflow on them. So most of my trees are planted, I would say my attempt was to do about 9 feet apart from each other. Right, because part of the reason why I chose 9 feet, some of them might be 8 feet, and then there's been times where my whole side here was getting filled up with figs, and then I had to find some places to put them. So I may have some that are 8 feet, on center. So this is the kind of the beginning of the side orchard here. I've got that's a narrow 600 right there, and then it's about 8 feet. There's a little Craven's Craving right there, and then about 8 feet away, let's see, I'll pace it off. Yeah, it's probably 9 feet, is Socorro Black, and then 9 feet away I've got the Caldidom Noir. And so if you look across, I've got rings with mulch around all my trees here in the orchard, but you can see that for the most part, these, I try to do them about 9 foot on center, with my rows also spaced about 9 feet. But the side lot here, it's kind of odd shaped. It's not a perfect rectangle. In fact, it's more of almost like a rectangle. So this white fence here, it gets closer to us the further we go over here to the right. So if you look at the end of my yard, it's only about, say, 30 feet across right here. But if you go here to the other end of the yard, it's, I don't know, it's quite long, right? So it's this odd kind of rectangle type shape. And so in the first couple of rows, I have 9 figs in these rows, and then it goes 6, 5, 4, 3, because the yard's getting narrower. But the whole subject matter of spacing, like I said, it's a subjective thing. I don't really understand why. I mean, you do hear people talk about, like, oh yeah, you really need to give them a lot of room. Like, give them 20 feet spacing. I guess the thing I don't really understand about that is, like I've got some of these figs. These are just first year rooted cuttings that have just grown like crazy, so they're definitely going to get chopped back. But here they are. This is probably, 7 feet, maybe more. If I had figs growing up here, like I'm already reaching about as high as I can reach. Um, so in a sense, I want to be able to pick my figs out of my trees. I don't want to have to get like an extended ladder, 20-foot ladder to like climb up in a tree and break my neck trying to pick a fig. I want to keep them small, and therefore I don't need 20-foot spacing. I don't need 16-foot spacing, because I am not letting my trees get 20 feet tall and 20 feet wide. That's absurd. Like, figs don't drop out of a tree like some fruit when they're ripe. You got to go in there and get them, right? If you don't go pick them, they're just going to rot on the tree. And so I have no idea how a person plans to pick figs out of a tree that's 20 feet tall. So my recommendation is, like, don't do it. Just keep your trees at a reasonable size, a manageable size too, because they can really get out of control. And so I think it's beneficial to keep them smaller. Therefore, your spacing can be smaller. I mean, I think anything 10 feet. I like the spacing I've got right now. I've got, like I said, it's mostly around 9 feet. Some of these probably are pushing 8 feet. Oh my gosh, I see a monster slug. Oh my God, it's huge. It's got to go down. You may not want to see this on the camera. God, I hate those things. I mean, these things are like snakes around here. Look at the size of this thing. Look at the size of that slug. He's a big one, and he's dying right now. God, I hate those things. Anywho, so I think this spacing works out well. You know what? I've had slugs. These things are big, alien-looking things, but I've had a slug. I had a fig tree. It was called a white Triana, but I had a slug go and cape all the way around, like 2 inches high, almost like you were preparing to do an air layer where you strip all the bark off it. But it was a big slug. Killed the tree. Killed it. I was absolutely blown away. I had no idea that could happen to a little fig tree like that. So anywho, I think the spacing's working out well. If you look over here in the first couple of rows, these are somewhat older trees, and so they're somewhat larger than these back here, all first year rooted cuttings. These are not, they're somewhat older, but still, I mean, this is a fairly substantial tree right here. This right here, this Olympian, it's lost quite a few leaves, as has a lot of my trees. I mean, it's getting later in the year, plus, they've had some fungal issues this summer. It caused a lot of leaf droppage. In spite of spraying too. It was a pretty bad year for that. But having said that, this tree right here has probably given us, well, by the end of this fig season, it's starting its second ripening. It's Olympian, and it puts out 2 main crops. We're not talking Brava, main crops a year. One in July and one in September. This tree right here will give us 200 figs. Big ones too. I'm talking, like, some of these things look like an apple. I mean, they're quite sizable, and dang, they are good. So anyway, you don't have to have a 20-foot tree to get a lot of figs. And I see no reason why to space your figs so far apart. unless you've got 10 acres and you only have 10 trees and you want to just like, spread them out. Because I'm perfectly happy with my spacing I've got now. Like, this is quite a sizable Adriatic JH. And I have picked so many figs off of this thing. And I mean, look at all the figs still on this thing. And it's pushing probably 8 feet tall. And so, I mean, frankly, if there were ripe figs at the top of that, I'm not sure I'd be able to get to them. I mean, I could grab the branch and bend it down to me to grab them, but it's already getting to the point where it's getting a little bit big for picking the figs off it. So my plan really, and they grow fast, right? So I'm gonna keep these trimmed back. Like every winter, I'm gonna prune them fairly heavily back to a reasonable size. But as you know, figs can grow really fast. And so, you could trim a tree back to be like 4 feet tall in the wintertime, and it could rebound and be 12 feet tall by the end of the summer. But that's if you don't do anything. You can always pinch, and that's very helpful, I think. I do believe in pinching in the right scenarios, of course, and for those that need it. But so there's a lot of ways to control the size of your tree besides just the, winter pruning. Because really, when you prune in the wintertime, they usually rebound strong in the springtime because of the pruning. But figs grow on new wood too. So pruning your fig tree is actually hugely beneficial. You'll get more figs if you prune your fig tree versus if you do not prune it. Just because the pruning is going to promote a lot of new growth, and that's where the figs are coming on. So anywho, I just wanted to make sure do a little video. I've had a lot of people ask like how far these are planted apart in the yard. So it's just kind of a grid, really. Honestly, I didn't even really plan this out in the long run. I had planted a couple of figs over by the white fence. And then, I don't know, it just happened. I had planted the first couple of rows of figs. Neighbors here had a huge live oak tree. I am talking a massive live oak tree that had branches so big that they went over my house. And I wasn't happy about it. I mean, they'd been there for a long time, but in the wind and that kind of stuff, it was dropping branches on my roof and all over my backyard. And so, not to mention, it's kind of a liability having that stuff over your roof, big branches like that. So I went over one day and just politely told them, I'm going to have a tree trimmer come and cut down a couple of those big branches. And they said, oh gosh, don't worry about it. We've got a tree removal service coming to take down that entire tree, which happened probably February this year, because this entire 3/4 of my backyard was all shade. I'm talking full shade all day long. Nothing would grow back here. Even the grass struggled. And now, since that tree is gone, it's got full sun from sun up to sun down. I mean, there is no shade in my backyard. It is absolutely, which then allowed me to then put in this row and that row and that row and that row and a bunch that goes along the back there. So that really opened up the possibilities, and that's when I figured out I better really start establishing more of a grid pattern maybe for laying these out. I think this is going to work well though. Like I said, the size of your spacing probably depends on the amount of space you have available. And of course, how many figs you want to, right? So, in my case, though, I made that decision, 8 to 9 feet, and I stuck with it. In some cases, I'm like, you know what? There's still figs I wish I could get. But you know what? At this point, that's okay. I can still do that. I've got a bunch of trees here that would make great candidates for grafting, right? So if I wanted to add, say, 10 more varieties, I don't have to plant 10 more trees. At this point, I've got a lot of great trees that'll make good hosts for grafting. And so you can, oh, this is another new introduction. This is a Borda Barquay, Barquar. So I've got this little pot. I put these little bricks right off this patio. Look at those elephant ears. Those things are freaking huge. Um, anyway, though, I do kind of like having this one in the pot. I wanted to plant one back here anyway, trying to find another place to squeeze one in, but I kind of felt like it might be a little too shady because I've got a 6-foot fence right there. Got these big elephant ears here. So rather than like planting one in the ground back here, figured I'll put it in the pot by this little patio, little 6-foot patio here we have. It was leftover brick. We created this here, but if I have to, I can always move that pot somewhere else. It's a 17-gallon pot. But I do think this is almost perfect for like a neighborhood little orchard. You know, I mean, if you live in a neighborhood, you have limited space. I do think like anywhere from an 8 to 10 foot will work. But of course, you know, you can go less, you can go more. It's really kind of up to you what you want to do. But just realize though, the closer you have your figs planted, the more pruning that's going to be required, right? Because you do need to manage their size. The more pruning and pinching you'll need to do to keep them in that. But it's not a bad thing. I mean, it takes not long to prune a tree in the wintertime. It doesn't take long to pinch a few tips on a fig, so it's not like it's a huge burden to maintain their size like that. So I'm actually a pretty big fan of having a little bit closer spacing and not to go so far apart. I don't know many people that would really do well with a 20-foot tall fig tree that's 20 feet wide. I mean, not only would that thing probably produce 1,000 figs, you'd only be able to reach about 1% of them, and the rest of them would just rot on your tree because they're far out of reach. Anywho, let me know what you have planted in your yard and what you might think about spacing. It is one of those things that's very subjective, but I don't know these along the back. I just have them planted. You know, the fence posts are 8 feet on center, and so I just basically fronted each fence post. I came about 3.5 feet out from the fence, but at each fence post is where I planted them. And that right there by the fence there is a black Tuscan, and that one Violet de Bordeaux. So yeah, I think the spacing's worked out well. So oh wow, the weather here is just so amazing right now. It's very cool, unusually cool, and it's not quite as humid as it really is. But I hope you all have a great day, and if you can, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like the videos. Thank you. Have a great day.